Hey guys, it's me. I thought I would make this video because I'm watching a lot of First Nations stuff on YouTube, and I wanted to actually bring up something kind of different. I know I talk about my ancestry and like I'm all proud to be this and that, but I've never actually talked about my reserve ever actually, and it's kind of funny that I didn't because without that reserve, I wouldn't be able to identify. Without my ancestry going back there, I wouldn't be able to identify as I do now. So I thought I would pay a bit of homage to my reserve. For those of you who are new to the channel or don't know, I am an extremely proud member, off reserve, but still member, enrolled, registered, enlisted, whatever you want to call it, of Elsipogtog First Nation, New Brunswick. That, for those of you who don't know, that is a Micmac band government in New Brunswick. And I am very proudly registered there. That's where my status card says I am too. I didn't know much about the reserve until I was, I'd say about 18, 19, because that's when my dad said I had to register for my Indian status. And for those of you who, or for people who watch my video and say, oh, well, don't call yourself Indian, we're not Indians, we're natives, I'm like, it doesn't matter what's on the card. The card says we're Indian, we can identify as Indian, First Nation, Native, Aboriginal, Indigenous, whatever you want to call it. Names don't matter to me that much because, frankly, yeah. But, it's formerly known, I don't know if it's still known as this, but from what I've been told, it's formerly known as Big Cove. And as I recall, also, Elsipogtog itself, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, means River of Fire. And, it's so weird because, and I'll tell you the story about, from what my biological parents have taught me is, when my mom, her name was Stacy Marie Augustine, and being her son, I feel like I have the right to say her full name. And I'm her second born. She was a full member First Nations woman of Elsipogtog First Nation, New Brunswick. She was, as far as I know, born and semi-raised on the reserve by my Migitu and with her sisters, my Tsukis. And she was brought to Winnipeg to get a different, I guess, better education. I don't know what the whole deal was. But that's where she met my my father in middle school. And when she met my father, they were quite young. And they had most of high school together. And they told me, my biological father and my aunt told me that they were together off and on for a few years. And it wasn't until like we though were born, like my older sibling was born, excuse me, that my family decided to get into powwows. And my mom was already kind of a dancer in a way. She did jingle and fancy saw. My birth father, who his name is Richard, at the time his name was Richard Pettigrew, but he changed it to Valentine, is a Métis man. He obviously looks like me, but his father apparently looked like my mom, dark skin, brown eyes, jet black hair. the whole Indian look, I guess, and was Blackfoot Cree with white, with he was half native and half white, and so since his first wife was a white woman, my grandma, um, that makes my dad Métis, and so there's my father is a 60 scoop person, so I don't know if he's trying to get his status, but he doesn't know if he's going to be ever eligible for it. But when I was younger, before 6 years old, and here's where the story gets a little deep. Um, During the time period where my biological family lived, we lived in an area of the city of Winnipeg that was known to be quite racist toward Indians, like natives. And my father didn't want to listen. He wanted to be the protector and everything, but he didn't listen or heed people's warnings that bad things could happen to native families in a certain area of the city where the CFS is guaranteed to confiscate your kids. This is what I was told. So I don't judge me on the clarity or the solidity of this story, because this is what I was told, so don't attack me. But the school we went to when we were little kids reported child abuse against my parents, saying that my father was abusing us. And I don't know how true that is, because I don't remember anything of my childhood, legit, like anything. And so very quickly, because the social worker that was on our case the first time was openly racist toward Native people. She hated Natives, she really did. And unfortunately, she happened to be a white woman. So I'm not saying it's because she was a white woman. I'm saying it's because it happens that she was a white woman who happened to be racist toward Natives. And so what I was told by a lot of workers that I know and by a lot of Natives that I know, this particular person was actually trying to rip me and my siblings from my parents. And one day, I know this is a personal story, but it needs to be told because I believe in spreading awareness toward the treatment Canada has had towards Indigenous people and families and everything. So one day, CFS came to my parents' place and literally, without exaggeration, ripped me and my siblings from my mother's hands. My mother was carrying my youngest brother, and the worker said, "You can either give him over to us easy, or we will make this hard. It's up to you." And she, being stunned, didn't know what to do, because how can you react to something like that, like on the dot, right? Because they threatened her with legal action if she didn't give up my little brother. So she had no choice but to give him up. And when my father came home, he said the sound of his little babies running around screaming "Daddy's home," seeing my mother there without the kids, it was heavy. He says there's no pain felt to a parent like losing their kids. And he knew why. My mother apparently just sat on the couch, stunned, speechless, didn't know what to say. And we were taken. And this is the part where I have to tell my viewers, and I know this is a heavy video, but this needs to be told because this is my story. This is the part where I need to inform you about Canada's CFS treatment toward Indigenous families and kids. Because no one knows about it. People who don't know about this want to learn, but those ignorant, I can feel those ignorant comments gonna come in, don't want to know. but you're going to hear it anyway. After my parents were denied custody of their kids, we went into foster care. And the treatment that I endured was disgusting. It was crimes against human rights. I was physically and emotionally hurt. There were times when I was called a dirty little half-breed, or a dirty little Indian, or disgusting, or your mother was a stupid Indian, so she couldn't keep you kids. Your father was a drunk and a beater, a woman beater. I was told everything you can imagine. But imagine being told you were taken because you're half Indian, or because you're Indian altogether. People non-native who can't even imagine, they tell me, I've met people who are non-native, they can't even imagine this kind of, like, oh, that couldn't happen. I'm like, but it did. You see, no other child, I've seen it myself, no other child, except for children of indigenous ancestry, get treated with such bullshit. People might say, oh, that's not true, I've seen it. Like, no, you've never seen an indigenous child in foster care. We are the highest rated of the population to be in foster care. And all these years I thought my parents were dead. Because I was always told that they were drunks, that they were drunk Indians who couldn't handle you, and that you were taken for better reasons. But I was told lies my entire life. And when I turned 18, I went to a rally or not a rally, it was a prayer day where we gathered in a certain area of the city and we went to go pray and smudge the streets and kind of clean the streets. And I kick myself in the ass for this every day because I saw my mom there. She was 2 people down from me. And I didn't know how to say hi to her. I didn't know. It's, unless you've been in that kind of situation where you see your biological parents after you think they were dead, you don't know what to say or what to do. And 2 weeks later, she died. My mom died of an abdominal aneurysm in her sleep after doctors and the health system failed her. Doctors literally thought she had gas problems. They pushed on her body where the problem was, and they ruptured her aneurysm and it killed her. I saw her 2 weeks before that and I could have said hi. It's me, your second oldest kid. So for those commenters who always thought I'm just a wannabe little white boy, I don't care what you say anymore because frankly, I have too much pride of being a member of my mom's reserve and knowing that I am of her blood. I will never cease to be proud of who I am. I've had talks with my family about it, and I went to my mom's funeral here. And I did the hardest thing a child could have had to do. See their mom in an open casket for the first time in their whole life. Lifeless. And I blame a lot of things. I don't hold hate toward anybody, but I do hold resentment toward the system, because the system literally killed my mom. And when we had those incidents years ago with the fracking in Canada, and they attacked my reserve, they tried to do shale gas on my reserve. I obviously went to the rally, and I told them I was a proud member of that because of my mom, and people knew who my mom was. And they gave me a hug and said, thank you for being here. Like, thank you for representing your home. And then I went to my reserve. I went to the reserve to bury my mom. And after 20 years, I saw my family there. My aunties, my Migachu, my cousins, people who didn't know me because of CFS. And when you're home, you want to be home for the right reasons. But I was home to bury my mom, who I never got to meet. So I wanted to make this video because I needed people to know who I am in my life story. My father is a Blackfoot Cree man with some Anishinaabe in him. And yes, I'm half white. But I'm a fucking proud member of my mom's reserve, Elsipogtog First Nation, New Brunswick. And I really wish my dog would start barking, but he's not, so you're gonna have to deal with it. Yeah. I hope this helps people on my channel really see who I am and see that I come from a place where I respect and love everybody genuinely. Because from what I've been through, I've gained an appreciation of life that people don't always understand. And so, I think he's done barking. I think my dad just told him to shut up. Yeah. Sorry, I did get teary because those stories were hard to tell even today, and that was almost 6 years ago. Oh, never mind. But I hope you learn who I am better, and please, if you have any questions about me, ask. I'm not afraid to answer questions. I'm not afraid to answer questions. And thank you for watching. This has been a deep video, but I needed it. I needed it. Miigwech, Walanin, Aho. Thank you. Thank you.